Oh boy, we're live. Testing, testing. Today on Quality Time with Family Ties, we learn, in the end, the love you take is equal to the love you make.
And in 3, 2, 1. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the final episode of Quality Time with Family Ties. I am one of your hosts, Scott Jones, and joining me, as always, Mr. Paul Packler. Paul, how are you?
I'm wowed. I wore a suit, a tailored suit for the occasion, and Scott Jones's haircut is so gorgeous that I feel like I've totally not dressed for the occasion. I feel so.
You know,
the haircut overshadows your suit.
Yeah.
Trying to wow everyone with his suit, and you got trumped, pardon the expression, by Scott's haircut.
Guys, and listen, I just hope that the YouTube algorithms work out that Scott is our icon. Because
I know the thumbnail for this. It should just be Scott with his new haircut.
And would you believe this is like a $5 haircut?
I would not.
Wait, you know what's even harder to believe for anyone who's ever seen this is that we've suffered through 7 years of Family Ties episodes with your hair looking like Bozo the Clown, and look how handsome you are.
Pretty much. I know. I clean up well. You know, that's what you'll see. Like if you watch all through, the YouTube videos, you're just gonna see me decline, just completely decline, become like a caveman, the big old beard. Corey starts looking better.
Oh yeah, I got skinnier over our 7 years.
Yeah, all right. Paul's always looking sharp, but it's a huge decline. And I think just with the knowledge of never having to do this again, I'm back to my old self.
Yeah, you look 20 years younger, Scott Jones.
Thank you, sir.
You look 15, but with a beard.
15 with a beard. I love that.
But I was just wondering, on our final episode, you're not going to announce that Carrie's pregnant again, are you?
Oh no, we don't need to do that anymore.
Oh really?
I don't need paternity leaves anymore for the show.
Oh, that's a good point.
All know,
so it was you only had children to get out of watching episodes of Family Ties.
The secret. We really shouldn't have paid him for that time off.
We have such a liberal HR policy here at Quality Time with Family Ties.
God bless California.
Wow.
Paul, would they have the same thing in New York?
Yeah, well, ours is actually located in Delaware, so it's really bad.
Oh yeah.
It's constantly tax dodging over here.
Wow. and Scott, I know that Paul sort of kind of likes this episode as a series finale.
I found it interesting. I don't know if like is the word. I just thought the choices were very odd. And this leads me to the question I want to ask you guys. Like, what would you consider some of the best finales of a series? What are some ones that stick out to you?
They're hard. I got to say that. They're really hard to do. It's hard to give the fans what they want and balance it with concluding storylines and letting the show go to its final resting place in a positive kind of way. So it's awfully hard. I mean, I think back to how disappointed Seinfeld was.
I don't necessarily hate that finale. I don't completely hate it. I know people do.
Watch it again, and I also think that the finale was unfortunately written. The Seinfeld finale was unfortunately written for people who watched the show religiously and not occasionally.
Right. Yes, I would agree with you, because it's kind of this acknowledgement of who these characters were the entire time, and it's really like, oh, they were horrible.
And all these other people who pop up, you got to have. They don't have the time to give you any exposition on. Right. On those other people who we've met over the years.
Right.
So I always found the Seinfeld finale to be difficult. I'm trying to think if there's any sitcom finale that I found to be perfection. You think of any, Paul?
The original British Office.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
The
That's
one that was the both actually, the series regular finale and then the Christmas special that came out where everything kind of worked out for everybody. It was like the Rocky 2 type thing where it was like at the end of the original series nothing works out for David Brent and Pam, I'm sorry, Dawn and Tim don't get together and all that kind of stuff. So it's a sad ending for everybody. And so it sticks the landing of like what the show was about. It's also very funny and it keeps the tone and it does everything. And then the Christmas special, everybody has a happy ending.
Yeah.
I like the American Office finale as well, except it's preceded by, 2 dreadful years of the show.
Yes.
And it would have been better if the Michael Scott finale was not pitch perfect and should have been the finale of the show.
Absolutely. I say that every time I watch that. I was like, this is the ending. Like you're doing the ending right now. Why go on?
Twice, so it was sort of kind of unfortunate. Although they did it differently and nicely the second time, it still wasn't as good as the first time, and the show shouldn't have had those 2 dreadful years. Likewise, I did enjoy the series finale of Parks and Recreation, but that too was preceded by a dreadful last season as well. After Rob Lowe and Adam Scott left, after Rob Lowe and Regina Jones left the show took a dive. And they did that time jump in the last year, and it just was dreadful until the finale where they repaired itself.
Yes, I'll agree with you on that.
What about, I mean, the classic one is MASH, right?
MASH was an excellent finale, and sort of changing how people watch television that night. It was watched. You two both too young to remember it?
Yeah, I didn't watch it in real time.
Yeah, it was really something that was very bonding for people in America and comforting after the Vietnam War, after the whole thing with Vietnam, because it was such an anti-war show, it was such a peace show that finally peace was going to come for these people. And I think that was something that was America got very rah-rah about it. It was very bonding, healing.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, there was another one that I was thinking that I liked also. Oh, Mary Tyler Moore.
And a sitcom, whereas MASH is a little bit more drama.
Yes, Mary Tyler Moore as a sitcom. I thought, no, they nailed it pretty much. They had emotional moments, and they had, and it was funny who kept their job and who lost their job. That Ted would have been the one to keep his job. Everybody else who was competent lost their job.
Right. I like that. I thought Friends was nice. Maybe not perfect, but it was a nice finale. Like it acknowledged a lot of things about the show. Like I like the bit at the end where it's like we all lived in this apartment at one point except for David Schwimmer. It was a nice little kind of. They didn't try to do too much, which I kind of appreciated with that show.
I think if you can get nice, you're okay. Finale. If it's nice, because nice means you've dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's and gave your fans. You didn't not give your fans something that they really wanted.
Right.
I feel like that's this episode, though, Corey.
You can make that argument to some degree.
You can make the argument in some degree, but here's my argument against it being even remotely acceptable. It's maudlin. It's treacly and maudlin. It's trying to stick its fingers in my tear ducts and jerk them off. It won't be satisfied until it's got my fluid all over it. The show wants it really badly.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to give it. But it was insisting, and its fingers were in my eyes, and it was manipulating my tear ducts, and it wanted me to care. And then there's a creepy scene between a mother and a grown-up son, and you're never gonna convince me that the tone of that scene didn't make her moist and him hard.
Oh, good gravy.
I am so gonna miss this.
I'm so sorry I said that, but that's my truth serum. That scene weirded me out.
Yeah. Can I? One thing is, I taped this off Nick at Night a million years ago, right? But it was a version of it that was truncated for what do you call it? Syndication.
Yeah.
For reruns. And so because of that, that version of the final episode cuts out, I would say, about 10 to 15 minutes, like somewhere, like maybe about 10 minutes. 15 sounds crazy. But like with that in mind, there are scenes that are not in the version that I watched, you know, as a young person.
That'll be very interesting for you to let us know as we parse this episode as to where it doesn't jive.
But with that in mind, that version of this episode is a great episode.
And I can see that. I can see it because there are things in this episode that I thought were way too elongated.
Yeah, and it's the same thing that happened with My Name is Alex, where I also had a truncated version, and that was able to make it a better episode.
Just a little tightening and a little less self righteousness. It was a little too. It gave into its emotions so easily, and to me, that's low hanging fruit. I think it's better if you're able to get emotions out of a scene that's not particularly written to be emotional. I don't know
and you kind of the ball's in your court a little bit because we've been with you for 7 years. So and we know we're saying goodbye to you. So you don't have to work so hard. Just give us a little bit and we're kind of there. The tears are going to come naturally.
And then I've got another massive problem that clearly the two of you can't relate to, and one that because of my age, I can. And that is a child leaving home. And I'm going to let you guys know something. It's on the calendar, Scott. Take a look at it. It's there in 18 years for all of them will be out of the house at some point. And you know what? Parents know that, Paul. Your mom and dad knew that when they had you. I knew that when I had 2 children. I knew that when my son decided to go to school on the East Coast, there was a very good possibility he might stay on the East Coast, which is what he did. I am not angry at him. I do not resent him. I would prefer it if he was closer, but it's just not realistic in this day and age to do that to children.
Right.
And therefore, that realization in this episode, oh my God, Alex is leaving home. I'm telling you, it's on the calendar. It doesn't come as a surprise.
Let's jump into this because this is kind of right where you're saying, Corey, is right at the top of the scene. So for the last time, guys, if you're playing along at home, the final episode, Alex doesn't live here anymore. And we start in the Keaton kitchen. And there's a lot of Andy's getting ready for a school play. He is going to be a tooth in a play about teeth. He's a baby tooth.
Why'd they make this decision, guys?
This is a little ironic for me because yesterday Henry lost his first tooth. So
what's the going rate, Tooth Fairy?
We decided we're gonna do like little toys under the pillow. We asked him, should we tell the Tooth Fairy, do you want money or do you want toys? And he's like, can you tell the Tooth Fairy, can I get a toy?
Text me when he talks to other kids. And changes his mind.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that's gonna happen.
Okay,
I got $5.
Okay, because as soon as it gets out, that I'm gonna guess the toy didn't cost $5.
Oh no, I'm taking it as cheap as I can until it becomes a problem. Like you do that with birthday, like Maisie's birthday, we spent hardly anything.
He's gonna sing like a canary when he gets out.
Oh yeah, Dad. Okay, I'll talk to the Tooth Fairy. I'll tell her not to be so cheap.
Wow. So why this? Any idea why they chose? Because this was like the worst, and I don't want to give away where it goes later on.
I think that's why, though, Corey. I think
it's building up to that. It's they like the analogy of a tooth leaving the mouth. Apparently, as a metaphor for Alex in this.
That's right. She says. I wrote it down. When we get to it, I'll yeah.
And so there's Stephen is practicing with him, and basically there is all this talk of Alex has interviewed for a job in New York with a financial consultant company. It's like
an investment bank. Scott.
Investment bank. Sorry.
Good God.
I'm sorry. God damn it.
Realizing his life's dream, and Scott didn't realize over the last 7 years what his fucking life's dream was.
It was overshadowed by all his narcissism, Corey.
Well, by the way, we get off to the start right here with him being completely sociopathic and narcissistic. Nobody knows how to use the phone.
Yeah. He has we have one of the great Family Ties weird bits, surreal bits of no one can use the phone because Alex is waiting to hear back from the firm in New York. And so Mallory was like, see, look what he's done. He picks up the phone and there's this alarm that goes off, an announcement, and sirens are blaring and all that.
So stupid. At this point, by the way, Jennifer enters, and I want to just take a moment to say something about Tina Yothers and apologize. She was caught during the 7 years that this show ran. Started cute and went into her awkward phase fucking immediately, unfortunately for her, and persisted until pretty much this season. And in this episode, where she looks fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
She gets right? It's like, okay.
And her performance in this episode is one of her best performances.
Absolutely. Anything that I ever mocked her for early, please forgive me for. She ended up really acquitting herself nicely. In fact, of the 4 family scenes, and there was, and you could count 5 for Skippy and Nick.
Yeah.
For the 4 family scenes, it had the best pace. She was delightful in it. She made sense. There was something expositionally we'll get to that I thought made sense, and I liked it the best of the 4 scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah, she does have great comedic timing, and if I was an executive at NBC, I'd be like, you know what, we need to find a show for her. Like she would be great in another show. Like she's kind of hitting her stride.
Yeah.
But yeah, Alex comes in singing New York, New York, because he has gotten the job in New York.
And again, Michael J. Fox, not a singer.
No. God, no. And they actually acknowledged that in this scene finally. He goes, because you didn't sing it very well.
And it once again, we go for this character that they've written who gleefully wears on his sleeve avarice. And I don't know if you said to me, hey, I watched this television show and the guy who's like the lead character in it buys avarice. I'm not sure if you'd go, hey, sign me up for that. I can't wait to see that. That sounds like fun.
Yeah. The evolution of Family Ties is one. I mean, it's baked into the cake. It was supposed to be about the parents. And Michael J. Fox was so charming as an actor, it destroyed the show. And we've made a main character out of a terrible side character.
Right. You're absolutely right.
Ignored the initial fundamental foundation that the House of Cards was built upon. And what we bitched about for the last 7 years was how they never were able to quite balance the fact that the show is about liberal parents raising a conservative child.
Yes, and it's clear in this finale, when you're trying to kind of encapsulate everything, it's not even touched upon really. It's not even part of the DNA anymore.
Because now they equate being a conservative with avarice. And that's not necessarily true. It could be to a certain extent, certainly is in our current government, but I'm still not necessarily sure that was wise in terms of creating a eventual starring character of your show.
Yeah.
I know it didn't start out that way, but if it kept its initial formula in keeping him a slightly lesser character and keeping the initial formula, I still think the show would have been a stronger show because it ended up becoming a show about a sociopath doing some really fucked up things to people.
I think you might be able to make the argument, while it is a lesser show and not as well, definitely, and surprisingly, I don't think as well written as Family Ties, if that's possible. Growing Pains stuck to their guns a little bit. While Kirk Cameron was a star, from what I remember those episodes, it was the mom and dad that grounded everything more so.
For a long time, until he started to get producing credits, and then Kirk Cameron started to have veto power over plot lines.
Yeah, I did not know that.
When the girl who was playing his girlfriend, before she had gotten the job, had done a spread in Playboy. When Kirk Cameron found out, he destroyed her career.
Oh wow, did not know that.
Yeah, so this is later seasons. When he became, the worst Christian asshole on the planet.
Sure.
And why every actor hungers to get that producer credit. It's not so that they can be creative. It's so they can sit on the meetings and say what I don't want to happen to my character.
Right.
Point taken.
And they usually have nothing to offer of any import to the rest of the actual writing producers, but they get to sit in on production meetings and go, no, I don't like that.
Yeah. For no reason whatsoever. Yeah.
Listen to them, they're a producer.
Yeah. But here's where we get to what Corey was talking about is it has been clear and known that Alex is interviewing for a job in New York, and the most ridiculous line in this entire episode comes up where Elise says, so I guess you'll be moving to New York? What does she think?
Well, she's brain dead at this point, clearly, and hasn't understand that children, her son did really well in high school and then got accepted clearly to the best private school within commuting distance of their home, and has done very well in school and has been applying for jobs because he's even worked in law firms. He's worked everywhere, and now he's going to go off and have a career. And since he knew that he wanted to be an investment banker, what city did you fucking think he was going to work in? My guess is either New York or Zurich.
Yeah. Or London.
But we know Alex, for probably weeks on end, he has been talking about this job interview in New York and moving to New York and living into New York. I bet if we go through episode after episode, we can find several instances of him saying of wanting to live in New York, especially the Tom Hanks episodes where he's so envious of him living in New York.
Yeah.
And the fact that they wrote the line for Elise to say, I guess you'll be moving to New York. You're right, Corey. It makes her sound brain dead.
Really? That never occurred to you before?
Yeah.
And
at least in the last week.
And although I will give them a little bit of credit, $75,000 even in 1989 is a nice starting salary for a kid graduating from college. It'd be a nice starting salary today.
Yeah, I did the math. I looked at like a inflation calculator thing, and it would equate to about $153,000 starting.
153.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's very good.
That's very, very good.
Nice definitely for someone to be starting out right out of school, given a job in New York City and $153,000 single.
Yeah.
You're living a very nice lifestyle for yourself. Now, I still want to caution Alex P. Keaton, who also is not brain dead, that you are not rich when you make $153,000 in 1 year.
No.
That does not make someone rich. Rich is a bigger thing than $153,000.
Yeah, but you could afford like a $3,000 a month apartment with that. That's not fucking around money.
To me, rich is something long-term and secure.
Oh, well, yeah.
Your work, it does not make one a rich.
You got to put stuff away. Yeah, right. You got to.
You've done well, and you must continue to do well. And so, okay, just he needs to relax a little bit. Hey, there was one thing. There's a Rockette joke.
Yeah.
And I just thought, wow, you made a Rockette joke and you didn't make a height joke. I thought they missed the chance to go for a height joke.
Oh, you're right.
Prospects are all.
Oh, that's a perfect. Wow, that's a perfect set. I can't believe. Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's a perfect short joke.
Mallory or Jennifer made a joke about dating a Rockette.
Right, that they would kick.
Yeah, Jennifer says something like, "Don't piss them off, or else they could kick you."
Right.
And it should actually be, "Don't piss them off, or else they'll step on you."
That's exactly.
Right. There you go. There you go.
Mm-hmm. And then he goes through this whole thing of when are you leaving, and then they're making the assumption. Here's the other thing where I think, hey guys, I just got a new job. Hey, when are you starting? 6 months? No.
Who would do that
assumption ever?
Yeah. And Elise is so upset about this out of nowhere. Like, she's upset that her son got a dream job, is making a good salary, living in New York, and she's upset that he's got to report to work in like a week.
And that's where I use the adjective for the rest of this episode, petulant. She's petulant for the rest of the episode until he calls her on it for the 4th time, and she finally vomits out what we all knew, which is why I hate this episode, because it goes in that direction. She starts being petulant immediately, and it's not over until the end. So I equate this episode to being like in summer camp for a week. Just go to camp for a week, and you can't take a dump for the whole week because and when you come home, you got this enormous, like, healthy Dr. Oz S-curve turd living in your intestines, and you can't wait to shit it out. And that's what this episode is to me. I know what's going on with Elise. I'm waiting an hour for her to shit it out.
Good God.
Again, I'm gonna miss this. But you're right. Elise, I never would describe as a petulant person, and so you're writing something new for this character that doesn't make any sense. Like if you were doing this finale, the focus should be on giving actually Alex moments of, debating of the greatness of taking the job and what he's leaving behind and stuff like that. It should focus on his move and not how Elise feels about it necessarily.
And that's what it became about. Family Ties, a show ostensibly about a family, became about an greedy older son of 4 whose mother wants to keep her talons in him so badly that he wants to quash his dreams of moving to New York to become an investment banker.
Yeah, which we've never seen before.
It doesn't sound right. It sounds a lot nicer that we have these liberal parents who raised a kid who, on one level, they could be proud of, and on the other level, they should hide their heads in shame. But But, I guess on the AAA, if you're raising a kid to be rich, you did a good job. He loves money. Go ahead. He should be proud of him.
I will say this, though, about this episode. I think structurally it works very well as a final episode.
In terms of the scene that we have the individual scenes of each family member saying goodbye to Alex. And thankfully, and I was worried about this, I was terribly scared when I looked at the time and I was trying to figure out, they better end on a family scene. If they end with Elise or Elise and Steven, I'm going to be really angry. And at least they ended on the family scene. So we went through, we go through, it's Dad, it's Jennifer, it's
Mallory.
It's Mallory, and then it's mom, and mom, and it just goes on too long, and there's too many scenes with mom at the end.
Yeah, the first part of this is like the goodbye to Alex to everybody. They give him a scene with everybody. They give him a scene with Dad. They give him a scene with then they go up to his room, and then both Jennifer and Mallory have moments of trying to measure his room to do whatever they're going to do to his room. And there's good scenes with both of them individually. And then there's a scene with Skippy and Nick. And then the second half is all about resolving why Elise is so petulant.
Right. And they go through a ridiculous thing in that second half of, hey, go make up with mom. hey, go make up with mom. It's like, I'm not really sure why anybody should be making up with anybody. She's being a bitch. He's not being nice either. There was something in this next scene though I wanted to get to with dad, the dad scene. I hated this one as well. To me, it wasn't much better than the mom scene. They missed a joke that was so big and in front of them that my mouth is still hanging open. Dad starts, well, they start with this Jennifer carrying his bags like she's the busboy. And then it becomes a father-son farewell tradition, which, I love it when they tell us that something's traditional, and I've been watching 140 episodes and I've never seen it yet. So it's not traditional if I've never seen it.
Right.
You can't tell me something's a tradition and I've spent so much time with you. Surely I would have observed this tradition before. But it's a father-son farewell tradition. And he sits down and it's like, son, is there anything you want to ask me? And it sounds like it's a birds and the bees kind of question.
Right.
Which is 22 and he's clearly lost his virginity 5 seasons ago. I don't know what the hell we're talking about.
Well, he lost it in the first season.
Yeah, first season. And then he says, well, let me give you some advice, the advice that my father gave to me. And the first thing Stephen says is, neither a borrower or a lender be. Shakespeare, right?
Yeah, the irony of it, though.
Well, that's the point. So he makes one joke like that. Then the very next quote is, a penny saved, a penny earned. So we have 2 quotes having to do with money to your son who's going to be an investment banker. And we end with the best punchline these fucking writers could come up with, which is, a bird in the hand makes blowing your nose more difficult.
That's a swing and a miss, folks.
Yep.
Corey, we have just this last episode. I don't want to lose you on this. Just pace yourself.
I'm
made it through 7 seasons.
I thought to myself, hey, I like where this is going. Money line. Pal, here we come. Number 3 has nothing to do with money, and it's not even funny.
They're missing jokes left and right in this. They missed the Roxette. They missed this.
Wow, this was a wet fart. This was a shark.
I will say, though, I liked the joke where Steven says, this sitting with you now reminds me of talking with my own father when I was about to leave the house. And do you know what he said to me, son? And Michael J. Fox goes, get out and take your brother with you.
That was a good one.
I did like that, especially when we think back to Norman Parker.
Exactly. Yeah. It fits what we know of the world of these characters.
Of things where it was like, hey, one time I heard that line also, and I did laugh, and I thought to myself, okay, at least you're being true to the fact I do remember this character. And take your brother with you. You bet he's a self-righteous, earnest asshole as far as I'm concerned.
Yep.
So, and then we go on to some very bizarre comedy about advice that's about streetwalkers in New York. I don't know why we went to the streetwalker advice. Yeah. And Alex even clumsies it up even more with saying, who are you giving the advice about? Aunt Miriam? Oh, is Aunt Miriam a streetwalker? I don't know where this is going. It's bad. It's about streetwalkers.
Yeah, I don't even know because they cut it short. You can feel that the producer, or you can feel like the network was like, cut this shit out, or like and so they don't even get to what seems they're leading toward.
That's exactly right. It seems like they're going somewhere and they don't get there.
Yeah, and that's what it really felt like a bird and the bees talks. Like I was like, okay, so much of this. Yeah, I was gonna say, so much of this felt like what you say to someone going off to college, not going out into the world for a job. Like this felt like he was going off to college. But I guess since he's been living at home and we've barely seen anything of him at college, I guess it's okay to do. The tone is all right.
No.
Yeah.
And then he does the parents stuffing a check into Alex's hand. Like what my grandma used to do every time I went to my grandma's house, where she'd give me $1. She'd like it's the nuclear code.
There you go.
She said,
just a little something you need. Just a little something you need.
And she whisper in my ear, Don't let your mother see it. Like my mother would be upset that my grandma gave me $1. And then Alex screams that he still owes him $74.50. There's a callback joke to before that he owes money. And then Alex and Steven leave, and the room is empty, and Elise enters, right?
Yeah.
And she enters the room, and she like looks wistfully at the room. This is where we start the maudlin treacleness of this Elise and Alex thing.
Yeah.
She takes the Nixon picture and she puts it down. And they kept on shooting the shot so that the Nixon picture was right in the middle of the shot. So you knew something was going to give with that Nixon picture.
Yeah.
So she takes the Nixon picture and puts it down, and she immediately acts petulant to Alex, and that's the act out.
Yeah, it's such a weird moment.
Mm-hmm.
And then they go up, and then we get our favorite set piece, Alex's room, which we haven't seen in a while. And it's the goodbye for Jennifer.
You know what? Actually, it just made me think of something. I'm sorry, Corey.
No.
The picture that she gets upset about is not Nixon.
It's the baby picture. It's the baby picture that Alex wants to take with him.
Yeah.
Oh, it's later on. It's that Nixon thing. You're right.
They put the Nixon in the center. It's like highlighted in the scene. Yeah. I know.
It's the picture that he had packed to take with him to New York, and it's a picture that and this is where I said that she gets petulant,
right?
Because the picture is a picture of Alex P. Keaton, clearly when he didn't have two sisters or a brother. And when it was just Alex and Mommy and Daddy.
Right.
And the picture of Alex and Mommy and Daddy that he wanted to take with him. And she, by the way, this is also realistic. Your child wants to take a picture of you as a happy memory to remember you and Daddy by. And you're going to go, no, I'm going to keep that picture for myself.
Yeah.
Who does that?
Really strange. Really strange.
Picture? I'll get a copy of it. Take whatever fucking picture you want.
I mean, thank God for Mark Zuckerberg that now pictures are so not even a thing that someone thinks about or cares about.
No, they're there. They're on the phone.
They're there in the cloud. They're there forever. I'll find them.
Yeah.
And so she gets very petulant about the picture, and that's the act break.
Mm-hmm.
And then we go into the Jennifer scene, which I particularly liked.
It was great. I like we were saying, Teeny Others is wonderful in this scene, and it's just kind of like I really believe this scene. Like there was some honesty between the two characters, and I could see how Alex influenced Jennifer over the years that was always under the surface but never said. And it was really, really funny when she was like, "I'm going to be an antitrust lawyer and probably put you in jail in a couple of years." I love that.
I loved it too, and I thought the line that she said, Alex, I don't think you ever knew this, but I'm smarter than you are. It was a really honest read. I thought it was
and it's true.
It is.
And it is absolutely true. And she's proven it over and over again. She's the brightest of four children.
Yep. She's the quickest. She's the wittiest. And she does it with very little. Yeah.
And notice I was going to say they all, but it's not they all. It's Jennifer and who else say you taught me? Skippy. Jennifer and Skippy tell Alex that he taught them everything they know.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go around parading that information to others.
I'm not so sure I would shout that from the rooftops.
Yeah. Maybe keep that to yourself and maybe tell Alex, but
don't fess up to that.
Scene to another callback, a visual callback, the chair.
Mm. Oh, that's right.
Remember, Paul?
I'm sorry, you were echoing a little bit. Can you?
Oh, yeah, we go back to the infamous chair roll.
Oh God, yes, of course. I mean, this is truly a greatest hits of an episode.
And I thought that was actually, I was hoping there'd be more of that, and we didn't have all that much more of it, but I did enjoy the chair roll.
Yeah.
And then we have Mallory coming in. So both Jennifer is, when we see her, she's measuring the room, and now Mallory comes in and is measuring the room. Clearly, and Alex had made a bit about this is going to be a shrine. No one's doing anything to this place, and so Mallory is now coming in and measuring, and Alex catches her.
Yeah. Mallory in this series finale, I think, was woefully underwritten.
Yeah,
I
I
think
agree.
their relationship had a lot more interesting stuff that they could have mined, and they really didn't.
They went in a
Yeah.
very, very superficial way in this scene.
Mm-hmm.
You have no respect for what I do, and I really respect you. In fact, one of the things that struck me, there's an entire scene here between Mallory, about, let's say, a 22-year-old kid and his 20-year-old sister, who's been dating the same guy for 4 years, and he never mentions Nick in the scene. And I don't think at this point he would necessarily be seeing Mallory as a separate entity than Mallory and Nick at this point as a duo.
That's a good point. Yeah.
It's a long ass not to say even something either nice or probably in his case nasty and cutting about Nick.
Especially when you had like many seasons ago the scene of them on the train. You know, I keep going back to that with them, and how that was just a great brother sister scene. And that's what this scene needed to match up to, is we're dropping all the teasing and we're grown-ups now, and just like, again, a real honest moment like you had with Tina Yothers would have been nice. And instead it's just very surfacey and mundane.
I honestly would have appreciated if they had mentioned that Nick and her were also going to be moving to New York because his family lives there. His sister. And so it would have been a nice little, Easter egg for us 30 years later, having watched The Art of Being Nick.
That would have been great. That would have been perfect. That would have
It's
been
almost
nice.
as if they didn't pay any attention to the failed pilot that they wrote.
Yep.
Yeah. It would have been a great in-joke for them.
Oh, yeah. I loved it.
And so she sort of announces, though, that she will be the next one to move, although she doesn't say where she's moving.
Right.
And at that point, she leaves, and Dad comes in to measure the room.
Right. And it's kind of like that's a quick, that was just a quick moment, right? There was no discussion, really.
No, there's no discussion.
Yeah, it's just like Dad's in. Dad catches him. Okay, yeah.
That's the commercial break of the first half of the show.
Yep.
Yeah. So with that, I think we'll take a little break. You think, guys?
Sure.
All right. We'll be right back. Corey, do you happen to have headphones by any chance? There seems to be echoes happening, and I'm guessing.
Yes.
I'm guessing it's maybe from you, just because. It's not terrible, but it just keeps picking up on occasion.
No.
How's this? Better?
Talk.
Talk.
Yeah,
Much
that
better?
sounds much better. Yeah.
Oh, good. Cool.
Okay. Is there anything that you guys want to do coming back from this, like special stuff that we?
Yes, something I want to do.
Okay. Cool.
You'll figure it out as soon as I ask you something.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And we're back. But before we get to more episode stuff,
I
Corey?
just had a question, and I was just wondering, I had a feeling you might know the answer to this. Do you know how many episodes or how many episodes of Family Ties there were, or how many podcasts we've done?
I don't know either of those.
You don't know either of those? I mean, it's been. Do you know?
It's like 170 something episodes.
It's funny because there were so many times, there were so many statistics. You know, I love baseball, and there's always statistics, and I wish that there were statistics kept on our podcasts and on Family Ties. So there were 20 statistics I wrote down that I wished that we knew as we finish Family Ties.
I think I know.
Here are the statistics I wish. I'm sure you do, Scott. Here are the statistics. Oh, Scott, you just wait.
Okay.
Here are the statistics I wish I knew about quality time with Family Ties. First of all, how many times did Scott actually do the show? That's the first thing I want to know.
Conservatively, 140 times out of 100 and no. I probably did 120 episodes out of 170.
There we go.
Conservative.
I wish somebody had scored how many times the Keatons drank orange juice over the 7 years. I wish we knew how many times we thought they were going to drink orange juice on the show, only to open up a diet soda or drink milk instead, and we were terribly disappointed. How many times the three of us gave fashion analysis of
You especially.
Yeah. Yeah.
how many times I went on a rant.
Every episode,
I'd like to know
175.
170
I'd like to know how many times Paul said the word oligarch.
Not enough.
No.
I want to know how many times Henry did the show.
I think probably 5 or 6.
I want to know how many times Logan did the show.
I think 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if we added the shows that Henry did and Logan did together, would they equal more shows than Scott did? I wanted to know how many times one of us did a dramatic reading of Sunday's Fathers, Sunday's Fools.
Well, definitely one. The only one.
We may have done a dramatic reading of the. There was something at a tombstone, something at a grave.
Oh yeah, there was the Stephen's father's death. Yeah.
Yes, I knew there was another monologue that I loved. How many times one of us did the podcast while inebriated?
Oh, good God!
Ooh.
I know.
mean,
I was pretty much sober the whole time. Sadly.
Sadly.
and I was in between, so that's great.
Yeah,
we
there you
really.
And me, not ever. Let's see.
Corey, did you do any episodes not under some sort of spell?
Yeah.
The odds are no. How many times? The real question is, how many times did I describe Skippy as challenged?
Every Skippy episode, probably.
How many times we discussed Michael J. Fox's haircut?
Yeah.
How many times we used the word mullet during that discussion of Michael J. Fox's haircut?
All of season 5, probably.
How many times I plugged American Housewife, which is Wednesday nights, ABC, 8:30 p.m. starting season 3?
Yeah.
Perfect time.
Awesome. I can't believe you worked this in there. This
That's
was
great.
sponsored content. I didn't even realize it.
Yeah.
I want to know how many times Paul wore a hat when we did the podcast.
It's like 3 times.
I want to know how many times Scott wore a hat when we did the podcast.
No, quite a bit.
I want to know how many times Corey wore pants when we did the podcast. And for you trivia buffs out there, I'm going to give you the answer. 0.
It's a goose egg. Goose
Yeah.
Never, not once.
That's
How many? And the real question is, and how many episodes did we do?
Let's say 175.
How many times I wrote the note, "Kill me."
I'd say 174 because just not today.
Yes.
No, I'm sorry. I did.
We're not done yet, Paul.
know that. I know I did. And
Yep.
the last one is how many times I looked forward to chatting with you guys, and that would be 175 times.
Oh,
Same here, man. You know, Corey, you gave me an idea for there in the future. There needs to be a podcast with Henry and Logan when they're older, and if Paul has any offspring, them too, of them listening to this podcast and commenting on it.
They can
this is like
comment
the sons of the Beatles playing in a band together. Yeah.
Yes, very much so.
Julian Lennon and who else? Who are the
And
other
like
children?
James McCartney and
Yeah.
Danny Harrison.
And
Yes,
Stella
John.
McCartney and
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great. All right, guys, let's. We're still kind of in this goodbye section of the show. So now we have a scene with, which I kind of thought was, if you're gonna do it, great, but they didn't really go for it. Of saying of a goodbye of Skippy and Nick.
they did it simultaneously, which was kind of awkward.
Really weird, and not much coming from it. Really, like not. It's just hey, Nick's like hey, goodbye. I'm gonna miss you, little buddy, and Skippy very reserved, I thought, for Skippy.
Yeah. Guys, as a case in point, in the first act, there were some moments that were excised for the syndication version. This entire scene is not in the syndicated version.
Makes sense. Makes complete sense. Why have it?
This is the one I would leave out too, because
Right.
we get a triplet at the end of the scene of 3 people saying goodbye. A little surprise Easter egg. Just
Yeah.
for those of you who are
Yeah.
to the blind.
And we get a big surprise that Skippy might be gay.
Oh yeah. Did we?
Where does Skippy
Cor-
say that?
Corey, how high were you at the moment that Nick proposes to Skippy, says, Skippy, will you marry me? Then they say yes. And as I'm saying, it doesn't even sound real, but this actually happened.
That's crazy.
Did you not see this, you guys?
No.
You're insane. You've
You're-
gone insane.
What? No.
Paul,
Wait,
you've gone
is this? Do I have an episode that you guys didn't see?
clearly.
Yes. I don't remember this at all.
Jesus Christ! Oh my God!
You got to put this up on our page.
Holy!
I don't know. I don't
shit.
remember this at all.
Yeah.
What the fuck happened in the filming of this final episode?
Wait, whoa, slow down. This is breaking news, you guys.
Okay,
This is why this episode is a true historical journalistic endeavor.
Okay.
So at a certain point, when Nick and they're all carrying stuff down, Nick is like, "Oh, I'm gonna miss you," and Alex, don't go, and all this stuff. And then Nick says, "Well, Alex, we're gonna probably be brother-in-laws after this."
Right.
And he's like, and Alex is like, "Well, Nick, you haven't even proposed yet, so she still has time to say no, buddy." And then he's like, "Well, let me show you how what I'm gonna say." And he's like, "It's all right." And he's like, "Skippy, come here." And so they set up a chair, and this is all. It's like so slow that it happens. And he puts down a pillow, and then he kneels down, and he's like, "Baby, you this that," and then he like quotes to Do Ron Ron or some shit, and all this stuff. And then he's like, "Skippy, will you marry me?" And it's like all homo fear, joke. But like Alex is watching this all happen. And then when he says Skippy, I'm like, oh, this is getting weird. And then Skippy's really excited. He's like, "This is the best date I've ever been on." Or like, "This is the most action I've gotten in months." And then he's like, says yes. And the two of them run into the kitchen together, laughing and skipping. And I'm just like, this is the weirdest fucking thing I've ever seen.
I did not see that.
This simply was not in the version. I wrote every of the scene down.
No.
Well, this is an advertisement for buying the DVD set of Family Ties as opposed to the Amazon streaming.
Oh, dear God,
unbelievable, because this scene goes, Nick says something weird, which was, he says to Alex, "I'm going to miss you because, whenever I came to talk to you," like I ever saw that happen in 4 years. Nick never. When did Nick knock on the door and say, "I'm not here to see Mallory, I came to talk to Alex"?
Right.
Then Skippy says after that, "You've been my best friend for 18 years. You taught me everything I know." Skippy says goodbye, and he gets on his hands and knees and he begs Alex to stay. Please stay. Nick starts to cry. There's the brother-in-law business. Alex hedges on whether he, gives a shit about Nick or not. Then the doorbell rings and Lauren comes in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, you had Lauren in your version too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And really, this Lauren scene was so pointless.
I'm not even sure.
I barely remember it.
If Courtney Cox was a star at the time, I'd understand why, but who gives a shit? The character was written out last season. I don't give a shit.
Or no, a couple episodes ago, they broke up.
A couple episodes. Oh, well.
It was
We brought her back for 2 lines to say goodbye.
It was really annoying.
Get that SAG health insurance, Courtney Cox.
Yes, I'm glad she was worried about it.
Yeah.
And then we cut to the living room, and it's an Andy moment where he's dressed as a molar.
Yeah. And they're getting ready for the play, and the family's going out to dinner.
They're going out to pizza, where I was hoping we'd get to Guido's, but we don't.
I know. And they don't even say Guido's, but let's all assume they're going to Guido's.
For our own sake, it has to be Guido's. We can't have it not be Guido's.
And this is when she starts her tirade of rage of Elise Keaton.
Of not going to dinner because he's just trying to get ready to move.
Right. He's just flips out on him. She's angry. She angrily mocks the fact that he sang New York, New York. He's asking her over and over again, "Mom, what's wrong with you?" And then she fucking vomits that he's selfish, ungrateful, and insufferable.
She is flat out mean. Like, Mean.
But gents, let's be honest. He's been selfish, ungrateful, and insufferable every episode of this show. I don't know why we need to point it out in the series finale.
Why do
And
it
I
here?
love that in the next scene, Steven actually says, but wait, he's actually all of these things. That's a scene that you saw, right?
It was nice they finally acknowledged their own creation.
I just want to say, though, the reason that Alex says he cannot go out to pizza with them are that he needs to call to make sure the lights are going to be on. He needs to call like Con Ed, and he needs to call the landlord to make sure this and that. And they are going out in the evening. And so for him
Who's
to
he
get
fucking calling at night?
Time and
Exactly.
time zone difference too.
Oh no,
Let's
it's
not
all on
forget.
the East Coast.
Is it?
Yeah,
Yes,
Jesus,
Ohio and
California. Come on, come on, Scott. You used to live in Georgia. You know that Ohio and New York are both in the same time zone.
Are they? I didn't realize Ohio was in the same time zone.
Good
I thought
gravy.
they were
What
more
is-
central. I thought they were more central time zone, like with an hour difference.
No, Indiana is where the Central starts.
Is it? Okay.
I'm sorry, Scott.
I learned something today.
Yeah, I didn't need to do it so sarcastically, and I apologize for that.
It all comes down to time zones in the end, Packler.
Yeah, right.
Always does.
Always. Yeah, like it's in the and here's why I was like, yeah, he doesn't need to make these phone calls, but at the same time, like this wasn't like a planned dinner. Like it wasn't like, okay, on this date we're gonna go out. It was a spontaneous thing. They were just planning. Like, hey, let's go get pizza
We have to
Guidos.
eat dinner. Let's go out and get some pizza. It was like
Why
dinner
are you
time.
so upset about this? I can't do it. I got to do this. Okay, we just thought of it right now. I would.
Oh, and the reason they're going out is because Andy's learned his lines.
It's to celebrate.
I missed that.
And I also want to point out in this timeline that's happening right now, they're celebrating that he's learned his lines. And so Alex, when Elise gives him the business, he's like, all right, listen, lady, here's what's going to happen now. I'm not leaving next week. I'm seeing Andy's show tomorrow night, and then I'm leaving the next morning. So let's just keep this in mind. Andy Keaton is such a moron, he couldn't learn one line of dialogue until the night before. So his teacher they're having tech right now, and Andy still doesn't know his lines.
I would just like to point out, I did theater all through high school, and not once did I ever get taken out to dinner for learning my lines.
No.
That would have been nice.
Scott, you did theater?
I did.
I didn't know that.
Here we go. I mean, you couldn't tell from my performance in Snow White, but
I'm sorry. That's
it's that. It's that.
And also, you didn't have to learn any lines for that performance.
I
You
did
were a
not.
fucking
So
mute.
Best job ever, but I got no dinner for that learning. When I saw this, I was like, "This is how we're ending things."
Yeah, Alex screams at his mother, "I don't need your help anymore.
I don't need your food. I don't need your roof." Jesus Christ!
And then we cut to Andy's play.
Oh God!
Now,
with a touch of "Hey, my name is Alex" in here.
Yep.
I'm sorry. If I thought everything before this was even moderately acceptable, it's from this point forward that this show jumps off of a very high cliff into very shallow water.
It was written, Michael J. Fox will dress up as a giant molar and have a conversation with his mom with no one else around. That was written. Someone wrote that.
Why, in God's name, are we subjected to a sketch of children dressed as teeth, none of whom are Andy Keaton?
It goes on. I know. I was like, oh, the main kid coming out, that's going to be Andy. Nope. What? Why
we get a whole scene of children dressed as teeth. I don't give a shit. I don't care about teeth. I don't care about the children. I don't care about the school. The whole thing just ate up precious moments of my life.
Yeah.
And then
I also liked that in the audience of this play, before like when Steven's talking to Alex and be like, you need to talk to your mom. And he's like, well, why is she being so stubborn? And the whole apology, this whole stuff. Again, it was another joke in here. I don't want to explain it because it won't sound funny when I say it. but Steven starts with saying, "I just apologize, no matter who's right or wrong."
Oh,
And then it's like a who's on first sort of thing, and then it tops with Steven say, "I just say I'm sorry." But everyone in the audience in the play, or like waiting for the play to start, are obviously family members of the crew of Family Ties,
you're right.
because they don't look like extras from LA.
You're right.
And when I checked the credits as to who the children are,
Oh,
all
no.
friends of producers.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So the answer to my question, why are we watching a sketch of children, none of whom are Andy Keaton, is answered by Payback, baby. It's our last episode.
Yep.
Oh, my God. Yep. And then it morphs into this
Fantasy sequence.
Very, hey, my name is Alex. Suddenly, the audience is gone, and Elise is sitting alone in the audience by herself, looking up on stage. And it's no longer a child as the tooth, but Alex as the tooth. And he is actually acting very petulant towards her, kind of throwing back the things that she has said to him at her. And she's wanting him to stay. It's this whole metaphorical of a baby tooth leaving. Oh, God.
I have no comment.
No comment.
Gentlemen, I've said it all. Over 7 seasons, I can't say anymore. When the show gets this deep into the cesspool, I just best quiet down and not refer any longer to sharting or vomiting or diarrhea or bile or every other disgusting pus, eye granola, any disgusting thing of the body I've referred to in this show's context.
I think the less we say about this scene, the better.
And then it gets fucking worse. And that's what I couldn't believe.
They're not letting this go.
When we get into our Emmy Award versus Emmy Award battle in just a few minutes, it's a steel cage match between Meredith Baxter Burney and Michael J. Fox.
Who can yell the loudest at each other?
Yes. Who's going to win it? It's Michael J. Fox by a nose.
It's this drama that comes out of nowhere that makes no sense. And she, like, how angry she is at him makes no sense.
I just kept on writing the words down. Angry Elise. Angry Elise. I couldn't understand.
Mocking
Why
him.
are you so angry? Why do you resent him? It's just, why do I resent the callous joy you take? The callous joy you take in me leaving, he says to her. And it's just like they're writing a totally different character for her.
Yeah.
This is a very nurturing mother over the years.
Yeah, it's not the Elise that we have seen throughout the years. And I don't know why they choose to have this for the final episode. It's like she's hated Alex. Maybe she's hated Alex the whole entire time, and now it's finally coming out.
And then he's shouting at her, everyone else understands me, but not you. You're my mother. And she screams back at him, I'm your mother, and you're still my mother. It's just awful. It's just the worst. One could play this scene as heightened comedy in an improv scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You really could. You could
It's truly melodrama. It's the dictionary definition of melodrama.
You're Alex P. Keaton, Elise Keaton's son.
Yeah, oh God, yeah, those lines were actually said.
They hit on some ideas. Like this scene in this episode is like it's interesting because the argument goes into territories that, like, I don't know. They talk about what weird characters these two characters are in relation to each other and stuff like that. And like the dynamics that were like, he's such a dickhead. Why does no one ever call him out on it? And so in this scene, it's nice to see her do that. But at the same time, there's limitations to the writing that make it just like it meanders. And the arguments that the two characters are making and coming from, you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? You didn't feel this way 3 lines ago, and now you're saying this thing.
Yeah.
And so it's so not linear, the arguments, that it's hard to keep up.
It's also a little too late at this point to acknowledge what a dickhead he is.
Right, exactly.
You can't do it at the very end. And by the way, you're an asshole.
And Then the scene culminates in a moment of deep eye fucking. They were like deep soul eye fucking each other. And this, I remind you, gentlemen, is a mother and her son. They were deep soul eye fucking each other.
Again, in the syndicated version, they cut it before this moment.
Paul,
And one of the
I
writers was
watched
reading
them
it at the
eye fuck each other. I don't know why I had to see that. Then they kiss each other. Then they hug each other. Then they announce that they can't fall asleep. They hold hands as they walk out of the room. And then she shoves the fucking Nixon picture down. Where are they going? To spoon in the room with Steven? I'm fucking nauseous.
We broke Corey. It happened.
Oh no, I really didn't think it would happen with this episode.
He only had a few more minutes to go, and he'd been okay.
Joyous occasion.
Really? I'm joyful.
I'm so sorry. The eye fucking was too much for me. I went back and watched it 3 times. I enjoyed it so much. I couldn't believe it. It's like I kept drawing members of my family into the room. Susanna, you got to see this. You got to see this. They eye fuck each other. Hey, Logan, watch the mother and son eye fuck each other. I just don't get it. It was like such a bad scene. And then
rapiest scene.
What? That's what Logan said. It was the rapiest scene.
Mom, Dad, and Scott.
It was a family moment.
It was awful.
Oh,
it
Jesus.
was the most horrific experience of my life.
Wow.
And you've scarred your son, Corey. Great.
I'm so glad.
Your last show.
I'm so glad I didn't provide the most horrific experience of his life.
There you go.
Family Ties did. I sort of did, but not really. We go into this last scene, and I couldn't believe that they were able to do what they ended up doing in this scene. I just couldn't believe it was possible.
It felt rushed. It felt like bump, 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 goodbye, vroom.
Especially after the lugubrious nature of the Elise and Alex confrontation. This did feel a little bit rushed. Now, it could have been because there was a car coming to pick him up. And it was early morning, and it's still dark outside, so I'm assuming it's like 4:30 or 5 in the morning.
Do we know who played that cab driver? Because he got like a moment. Whatever actor got that, like, holy shit.
It had to have been a friend of Gary David
Had
Goldberg's.
to be.
Because he's center stage and everybody's quiet.
He gets a moment.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, is that someone famous? Like, did they get a famous cameo to come in or something? Like,
my favorite, there was a line in the scene that I will always remember, though. It's Alex saying to his family, let's not have a big emotional scene. And that's exactly what the last 47 minutes were.
Has been
emotional scene.
Thank God, not now.
Yes, but no, let's not have a big. And I thought, well, you just did. I hope we're not going to have another one now. And of course, they really didn't. Thank God. The cabbie comes in. And the cabbie tells Alex his car is there, and he doesn't even want any hugs. They give him little businessman handshakes.
Yeah.
I want to point out a little piece of trivia that may or may not be true.
Yes.
When he gets to Tina Yothers, she shakes his hand and says, "It's been a pleasure working with you." And it seems like a funny thing for Jennifer to say. Apparently, it was improvised in the moment, and Tina Yothers was actually saying it to Michael J. Fox, and he seems to break a little bit and laugh when she says it.
I totally buy it.
Love her even more now. That's awesome. That is awesome.
I totally buy it. It flashed through my mind that was a very strange way of saying goodbye to your brother. And so that was the answer to that question. They say goodbye. He doesn't want hugs. He leaves. And as he leaves, I wrote down, oh, kids, you know it, one more backdoor finish.
Woo! He comes in and gives everybody a big hug and ends with an I love you.
Yep.
And we finish with a backdoor finish. You know, that's the way we resolve every problem in life. You come in the back door, and everybody says all is forgiven. You can be the biggest asshole in the world. We still love you.
And here's a glass of orange juice.
That's right.
I think that's maybe that's the lesson to learn today, is that you can be the biggest asshole in the world, but if you come in the back door, you're gonna get some orange juice and a little bit of love.
Oh,
And
dear
that's
Lord.
All right, gang. Guys,
So-
I can't believe this is it.
That
Yeah.
was the final episode. Now, did you, in your Amazon versions that you guys watched, did you get the final time that the cast was introduced?
No, we don't get that.
I looked for that. I waited for it. We didn't get it.
Okay, yeah. So
I just watched credits too.
okay, so if you do end up purchasing any of the season 7 DVDs, that's another thing that you'll get is
Goodbye.
Nick and Skippy getting married, and you get to see the cast actually get introduced to the television audience.
Did
have to
Michael
say
J.
Nick
Fox
is
get the last bow, I would assume?
No, he got the next to last. Meredith Baxter got the last.
Good
Oh
for them.
wow, good.
Good for them.
That's cool to see.
Good for them.
And they hugged a bunch, and they were both crying, and yeah. So I have some added information that do you guys have some stuff too? I'm imagining.
I did my little my 20 statistics. That was it.
I had my mimosa and
My
I got
haircut.
something. I got something when we say the ending credit things.
Okay. So first off, I'm gonna read some stuff if that's cool with you guys.
Of course.
Sure.
Okay. So the first one is in 2008. During the run-up to the election, this is during primary season, the 2008 election, Gary David Goldberg wrote an op-ed for the New York Times, and it was titled, "What Would Alex Keaton Do?" This is from March 3rd, 2008. Are you ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
It's been almost 20 years since Family Ties went off the air, and Alex P. Keaton's political idols, Richard Nixon and Ronald Reagan, have each gone off to their deserved places in history. Yet, I get asked a lot, okay, maybe not a lot, but more than twice, whether Alex Keaton would be a Republican today, and if so, who would be his candidate in the 2008 presidential election. Before I go any further, I should point out that I'm a registered independent. I vote Democratic most of the time, but not always. I am part of the 75% of Americans who strongly disapprove of the job George Bush has done as president. Real courageous in 2008, buddy.
Very brave in 2008.
I'm sorry, we're gonna do some jump-ins at times. I should also point out that to properly represent Alex and get his political point of view, I, as well as the rest of the Family Ties writers, did a great deal of research on this subject. And during the time, I developed a very healthy respect for true conservative point of view, a powerful and proud strain of American political thought. And even today, I bow to no one in my desire to see the capital gains tax eliminated. So Gary David Goldberg is a rich asshole. So never forget that. The capital gains tax is stocks, bonds, precious metals, and property. It's,
and Paul,
it
was a rich asshole. Was a rich asshole.
I know, he has passed away. Good point. Alex Keaton was a true conservative Republican. He was for limited government. He was strongly against the government involvement in the personal lives of its citizens. He was competent and capable, the ultimate overachiever. But above all, Alex Keaton was a firm believer in the power of ideas. He believed in the competitive marketplace of intellectual discourse where the best ideas win. Usually Alex's. And so it's difficult to recognize in this current incarnation of the Republican Party, a party whose legacy will include Terry Schiavo and Hurricane Katrina, a place where Alex Keaton might feel the least bit comfortable. Alex was smart, real smart, and proud of it. He also believed deeply in the power of science and the free exchange of scientific ideas, uncensored, unfettered by excessive government regulation, not stifled by religious orthodoxy, not rewritten by political hacks with no academic or scientific credentials. So it's hard to picture Alex in a party that seems to be waging war against science, and where their presidential candidates seem comfortable debating whether or not the Earth is round. The irony there is that now we really have political actors who don't believe that the Earth is round. Right. So we've got even, I mean, so much of that was bullshit and dumb, stupid, like centrist bullshit. But that one just made me laugh. That's actually, it's gotten worse. On the other hand, I can't see Alex easily voting for a Democrat. I think his natural inclination would have been to go for John McCain. I'm jerking off right now. I'm doing the jerk off thing. As soon as I hear his name, I have to do that. But that would have been John McCain in 2000.
But we don't speak ill of the dead, do we, Paul?
Well, but that would have been John McCain in 2000 when he was still talking straight. Jerry Falwell's an agent of intolerance and waterboarding is torture. McCain going back on those two key points would have certainly kept Alex from pulling the lever for him now. I think Ron Paul's message is one that would resonate with Alex, and he would appreciate Paul's intellectual power and his willingness to state his positions unequivocally and without regard to which way the political winds were blowing. Like, I don't know, hiring white supremacists to do your mailer.
Yeah.
I think he'd really like Mike Huckabee's ideas of getting rid of the IRS, in parentheses, I know I do. But ultimately, Alex likes to win, and I think that would have kept him from fully committing to either of those guys. Hillary Clinton? Now, this is great, folks. This is going to be amazing. Hillary Clinton? I have to disclose that I've known Hillary Clinton for more than 20 years. I think she's a warm, funny, and caring person of formidable intelligence. I admire her, and I would love to be able to say that Alex would vote for her, but I don't think it could happen. That's
quite.
so perfect. It's so completely devoid of any sort of intellectual rigor. Yeah. I mean, just the bubbling misogyny underneath that of just the fact that like he won't even take her seriously as far as policies and stuff like that. Not that she has policies that she necessarily has ever believed in, but she's the exact same cesspool swimming of money and socially liberal-ish things and policies that Gary David Goldberg would love. Mm-hmm. The irony is that he can't see it because she's a woman.
Right.
So what about Barack Obama? I honestly don't know. I think Alex is an independent now and as deeply engaged in politics as ever. He would be intrigued by Obama, impressed with his eloquence and intelligence. He would be unhappy with his plan to tax the wealthy at a higher rate, but keenly aware that 8 years of neglect and corruption and no-bid contracts have to somehow be overturned. And I think Obama's slogan is very similar to Alex's own personal mantra, of course I can. I think that Alex might just be ready to take a chance. I can picture him stepping into the voting booth, closing the curtain behind him, taking a deep breath, and then for the first time in his life, putting his hand up to the Democratic Party lever. He'd touch it tentatively, trying to get comfortable, take his hand off, pull it back. He'd grasp the lever firmly, squeeze it, and as he was about to pull, we fade out. For what it's worth, Michael J. Fox and I have differing opinions on just where Alex Keaton is today. This is amazing. Okay. I believe he does pro bono legal work for the Children's Defense Fund. Mike thinks he's just now getting out of prison.
I agree with you, Mike. I agree with you, Mike.
I do agree with Michael.
Oh, God.
By the way,
that's insane.
The most self-serving op-ed piece I've read in the last week.
And so delusional, so doesn't like the politics of it are so devoid of any policy of it's just characters on a television. Yeah, and that dynamic has only gotten worse since 2008.
Oh, absolutely, way worse.
I also want to read another thing. Is that okay?
Sure.
This is from one of our listeners, Damon, and he wrote this very nice piece to us, and he's written to us a bunch, and I just wanted to read this thing from him. As you guys finish up, I want to first thank you for doing a podcast about one of my favorite childhood TV shows. I wanted to be Michael J. Fox as a kid and would go to school dressed like Alex and suffered through plenty of jokes, rightfully so. Though it really wound up being a nostalgia killer, which was hilarious, I thoroughly enjoyed this podcast. It was super cool to find other people who are out there talking about it. I know we joke, but I'd like to say how special the finale was to me, though melancholy. I was a late bloomer, didn't move out of my parents until my later 20s, so this last episode hit home for me. I can honestly say some years later, it almost moved me to tears. And not to skew off the general levity of things, but I lost my mom to cancer 6 years ago. I do remember watching this finale with her way back then. Last year, I rewatched this episode on my 41st birthday just to reminisce. It was around that time I found your guys' podcast when I thought of the debacle that was the Keaton European trip episode and searched online to see if anyone else ever discussed it. Then I never looked back. Anyway, through all the jokes, the finale to me was a quality episode. I'm sure it has funny faults to pick out, but all in all, it was a good wrap-up that tugged on the heartstrings. To a dude like me, who lost his mom way too early, the dynamic with Elise and Alex throughout really hit home. But I definitely found it a good end to one of my favorite long-running sitcoms that I loved way too much as a kid. Even now, looking back at a lot of the awfulness in it, there is still an underlying love for it. I just want to thank you guys for being like-minded fans with whom I felt like I could have been right there doing the podcast. Thank you for the relatable, fun content, and I hope you guys will do a new one. Growing Pains, if anything, for the Kirk Cameron jokes. Look at that. We already did it for you, David. Look at that.
There you go.
Sorry for the seemingly sadness in the tone here, but I honestly say this with all joy. You're probably reading this thinking, wow, this guy took the podcast way too seriously. Not as seriously as us guys, Damon. But I honestly don't mean it to come off that way. I just couldn't figure out another way to get my point across about the finale. There was great acting in it too, but I guess barring a few guest stars and Courtney Cox, the acting was usually pretty quality on this show. I'm now married with a 16, 14, and 3-year-old, and I feel they may never quite comprehend how Family Ties was horrible but special. I will do my best to impart it to them. To make sure the spirit is kept alive, I will continually encourage family, friends, and random halfway strangers to just help themselves to my back door and just walk in when they come over. I mean, how the hell else can you resolve a problem unless they randomly walk in the back door first? Thanks again, fellas. Great podcast. And feel free to read this on the show if you find it appropriate. And we did.
You know, it's funny. I read Damon's letter and I thought to myself, the similarity between the two of you guys who have the same nostalgic feeling when you watch the show with your families at that period of time. And I think ultimately, since I'm so much older than you and Scott and Damon, and I was an adult with my own family when it was on, I think I realized the horribleness that we sort of found 30 years later. And I was just able to shepherd all of you through my world of Hades.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I keep thinking, you know, it's kind of it's very sweet that Damon wrote that. And it made me think of like when we decided to start doing this. And the joy of it was simply we had been away from each other for so long. We were great friends. And, you know, spending time together at work and everything at the Disney show was awesome. And making each other laugh. And I just remember really missing that. So when the idea for this popped up, for us to just be able to talk about something so silly and so stupid, but to have this, you know, conversation, you know, especially, you know, Paul being so far away and everything, it was amazing. And that's been the joy of doing this.
Absolutely. That's been the fun of talking to you guys and having this in common to talk about family ties.
Fucking family ties. Well, everybody.
One last thing, Scott.
Yes.
So this is the announcement, folks. This is the big surprise. I'm sure people have been waiting this whole episode or just fast forwarded the fucking hour and a half to get to this point.
What are we doing?
So this is our final Quality Time with Family Ties, but we have a new podcast on the way. I'm sorry to say that, Scott, you're not going to be joining us as a co-host, but you will be coming in.
I will be jumping in, and I look forward to it.
We will have special guests, and Scott is welcome anytime he's available.
Anytime. And so, drum roll. The title of our new show is Paul and Corey Cross the Streams. So, with all, like, I tried to find what's the laziest thing that we could do. Well, you can find streaming services where they'll have movies and TV shows that we could watch. And so what we're going to do is we're going to stream things to let you know if you should. We're going to have 2 episodes per month. we're going to have themes every month. And then Corey's going to pick a thing, and I'm going to pick a thing, and then we're going to talk about it. And we're going to have segments. We're going to have research. We're going to have to do work. Corey, are you ready for this?
I know, and I may have to watch something longer than a half hour, and my attention span is about 22 minutes.
Oh God. Oh God.
This will be like doing Shakespeare with your mind, where like your lungs accommodate, and you start to be able to talk longer and everything.
Wow, this is good. My
Yeah,
attention
this is going to be good for everybody. This is going to be really.
And we're going to premiere sometime right after the first of the year.
Exactly. So we're going to be getting a lot of. We're going to do some technical stuff. We might be getting new microphones, Corey. Maybe.
Wow.
Yeah,
you guys are upgrading. Jesus.
Yeah. So we're going to be doing that, but keep an eye out on Fanbase Press for any announcements and stuff. But yes, by the new year, we will be launching Paul and Corey Cross the Streams. Da-da-da-da-da-da. This is actually something that isn't public domain.
Are we gonna stick with the Ghostbusters reference and not the urination reference?
Well, that's the thing. I said that to Barbara and Bryant amongst other names, and they were like, "Oh, I like that one." I was like, "You do know it's about like peeing, right?"
I mean, we can attribute it to Peter Venkman as much as we like,
Yeah.
but I still have the image of two little boys standing at a urinal.
Yeah, there are some Peters involved, Corey. Yeah, there will be Peters involved.
Okay.
I think they did too. They said that line.
So yeah, we're very excited with this new project, and we very much look forward to launching it. So
Absolutely.
So yeah,
I can't wait to hear it, guys.
as Rachel Maddow will say, keep your eyes on the space. What does she say?
I think she says that.
Yeah.
That may be when I'm starting to fast forward it through her.
Scott, that's all of the nonsense I've had to read and announce. So please take us away.
Well, guys, this is it. For questions and comments, we're not going to have the email anymore.
I know, yeah,
if you
do
want-
it, but we might not be getting back to you quickly.
Probably not, yeah. You can follow the Quality Time thing, but nothing's going to be posted. You can, and to hear about Paul and Corey Cross the Streams, follow all of us on Twitter. I'm as follow Jones.
Excuse me. Oh my God, I totally ruined it. Usually I nail that. I had to burp.
The last episode, Paul.
I'm at Paul Packler.
And I'm at Corpep. And you could probably also follow us at Fanbase Press.
That's a great idea. Instead,
and honestly, we'll be announcing just so that way anyone who's listening can, we'll announce on the Quality Time Facebook page and the Twitter account. So that way, anyone that wants to go follow will find the information.
Mm-hmm.
And lastly, we want to thank everybody at Fanbase Press. And normally this is where I give a big spiel about what they do and everything. But listen, one of the things that all three of us agreed on when we decided to do this podcast is we didn't want to work really hard at it. Thankfully.
It's a common thread in all of this.
It really is. Thankfully, the amazing people at Fanbase Press, Barb and Bryant, are incredible. They work incredibly hard, and they took the mantle of doing all the stuff that we didn't want to do. The editing, putting it together, posting it, getting it out, all that stuff. And we are incredibly, incredibly thankful for everything they do. So if you have listened to this podcast and have enjoyed this podcast, please go check out everything that they do. Check out their comic books. Check out all the other podcasts they do. It's amazing. Incredibly creative people come to Fanbase Press. We're probably down way on the low as far as the creative people they have there.
Oh, we're absolutely the black sheep.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's coming from one of the president's brothers, okay?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Go check.
It's true nepotism. We got that.
It really is. It really is. Because you couldn't say, hey, I want to do a podcast about family ties and have someone legitimately want to put it up. But they gave us a home, and we are incredibly thankful for the home that they gave us. Perry Adams, thank you so much for doing a beautiful rendition of Without Us. It was incredible to have your music at the beginning of every show. Thank you. Bryant, thank you for editing all our episodes. And I want to personally apologize if I ever was late getting an episode to you in the middle of the night because my computer crashed. Thank you very much. I would get text every now and then. Scott, is the episode coming? Thank you for your patience so much.
He did our drawing. He's the one that made the Family Ties artwork. That you know, it's fantastic. It looks exactly like the opening credits. It's great.
Yep. Thank you, Sean Foster, for doing the logo. It looks beautiful. Thank you for making this a legitimate podcast. And I want to thank everyone that's listened. I know we all want to thank everyone that's listened to this silly rambling that's been going on for 3.5 years.
Yeah.
And guys, I want to thank you for giving me so much fun every time I was able to jump in, and your patience when I had babies and couldn't be a part of it.
You still have babies.
It was awesome, and I want to keep continuing these conversations, but watch something way better.
Yeah, Scott, thank you for Scott. You were the one that came up with this idea in the first place, and thank you for doing that. And thank you to everyone who reached out to us, you know, on social media and stuff. You know, listeners who interacted with us and sent us things and information, and even just talking about how much you liked the show. It really meant and means a lot to us. Truly, and the people that don't listen, because we see the numbers that a lot of people listen and don't write to us, but we appreciate you so much for having listened. You know, this is us just having fun with each other, and I listen to a lot of podcasts, and they always bring me so much joy and fun and ways to pass the time, and you feel like you're friends with the people. So if you've listened to this show, you're our friends, and thank you for taking the time out of your life to listen to us.
And one
Corey?
last time. Yep.
Do you want to say anything nice and like seems like you're nice?
Why would I start saying something nice?
Now? Perfect.
It's like calling. It's like saying Alex B. Keaton is a sociopath. No.
Well, guys, one last time. Sha-la-la-la.
Sha-la-la-la. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.